better water.
Hulu is all your TV in one place, plus more. Watch thousands of hit shows, movies, and award-winning Hulu originals for only $5.99 per month. It's TV without the cable contract and the freedom of on-demand streaming. Get current network shows from ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, and binge-watch every season of your favorite cable shows. Premium Hulu viewing is brought to you by Proline Automotive and AB Sports, Guam's store for Nike. To advertise on Hulu, call Choice Digital at 989-0042.
The governor of Pennsylvania vetoes a bill that would have banned abortions due to a fetal diagnosis of Down syndrome. Democrat Tom Wolf rejecting the measure one day after it passed the state's Republican-controlled General Assembly. There appears to be some confusion over whether the Navy has formally stopped proceedings to determine whether Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher will remain a member of the SEAL team. Reports indicate the Navy's waiting on guidance on the measure.
President Trump in a tweet insisting the Navy will not be taking away warfighter and Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher's Trident pin that designates him a Navy SEAL. Attorneys for Gallagher have accused the Navy of trying to remove the designation in retaliation for the president's decision last week to restore Gallagher's rank. The president urging the Navy to get back to business. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
Gallagher was acquitted of murdering an ISIS prisoner, but demoted for taking a photo with the dead man. President Trump just restored his rank. Most analysts say the fifth presidential primary debate featured no clear winner, very few fireworks, and the candidates are back on the campaign trail, and one question is, who is the most electable?
Joe Biden says one of his most powerful selling points is his electability, but that left-center lane means many in his party are not so happy. President Obama warned of such problems at a fundraiser. Quoted in San Jose Mercury News, Biden's former boss said, "We are not going to win just by increasing the turnout of people who already agree with us completely on everything, which is why I'm always suspicious of purity tests during elections." You know what? The country's complicated.
Fox's Leland Vittert. And a federal judge rules that Covington Catholic High student Nicholas Sandman can move forward with his $275 million lawsuit against NBC Universal, but on limited grounds. I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
Hi, welcome to Chili's.
We are serving lunch combos for $11.99. Choose from a variety of mouth-watering entrees like our ranchero chicken tacos, beef enchiladas, quesadilla explosion salad, or the California flatbread. Pick a beverage and start your lunch with a choice of bottomless chips with salsa, a half salad, or a bowl of soup or chili. Experience the bold flavors at a great price with Chili's lunch combos for $11.99. Available Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Located in the Tumont Sands Plaza, second floor. Chili's, savor the moment.
Now here's Bob in the traffic chopper. What's up, Bob?
Traffic's at a standstill right now with a guy standing in the middle of the street holding a sign. Let me zoom in. The sign says, "Free the fence."
Free the fence. And what does that mean, Bob?
Not sure, but the guy's out there smiling and waving in short shorts with a weird-looking little hat. He's got a sign in one hand and what looks like, is it? What? It is. It's a bottle of beer in the other.
Oh, no. That's Ray.
Free the fences in your mind with The Ray Gibson Show. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on 93.3 The Point.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific. Banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
Welcome to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, The Point proudly brings you Tall Tales with Senator Bob Klitzkie. And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty.
You know, I don't have the Second Amendment right in front of me. What is this? This is not the way to start the show. The right of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed. I should know this right off the top of my head. Real Joe, do you have it in front of you?
I do not.
You know, I'm going, you know, here I am. I thought I was ready, and I didn't even have that. You know, it's going to come to me, and when it does, I'm not going to look it up. It's going to come to me, and I will tell you what it is. But thank you for tuning in this afternoon to Tall Tales. I'm Daryl Taggarty, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, who will be back on Monday. So we'll all tune in for him. And I am happy to be back with you after taking care of some personal business. Thank you very much for your kind expressions of sympathy and condolence. This is not a difficult time for me. Just it's all in the course of good living. You know, it's what you get. It's what you get when you live right. So I'm counting my blessings today and enjoying my day as God intended. And so I hope you can understand that, and thanks for hanging with me to get down to what it is that goes on here in the community. I come up for air, and there's all these really interesting headlines and things going on, and it's not like I was thinking about it at all. As you know, I would hardly remember to bring the newspaper in from the box every morning. But now that I'm back, I just found this. U.S. considers pulling 4,000 troops from South Korea. And, you know, what's with that? You know, that's something. That's really something, considering how much we are dependent on. And here's another one. Here's another one from our neighbors up in Saipan. U.S. cybersecurity firm to launch security operations center on Saipan. U.S.-based cybersecurity firm is looking to hire 15 information security analysts in anticipation of opening a security operations center in the CNMI in January. The firm reached out to the Laddie Training Academy through its affiliation with CompTIA and began discussions on the ability to support its need for entry-level information security analysts. These positions are intended to serve as frontline network analysts for the firm's clients. Given the security concerns of their customer base, the organization has opted to open a CNMI location rather than outsource the work. This is exciting stuff. Really exciting stuff. And so, you know, we may talk about that. You can call us here at 888-8255, or you can call us. You can log in on Facebook Live, and I will get your comments that you type in there, and I will be certain to pass them along to our listeners. In fact, we already have some. Let's see. Yeah, get the screen so I can read it. Angles. Jose Martinez says, condolences, Brother Daryl, and welcome back. Thank you very much. And Ken is saying my tie is crooked. Let's see. Okay. Thank you. And then Nate Horn says, I think he's standing in. Yeah, I'm standing in for the vacationing Daryl Taggerty. Right. Ken says, effort underway to recall Jotnia Mayor. About time. Well, it may be about time when, if you have a recall, that means you're going to have an appointment, right? If it's within a year, not an election, because we have an election coming up next year. But since it's within a year, it could be an appointment. So the recall election could be, and the recall effort could be an effort to get an appointment, right? Because actually, and the mayors don't want Jotnia to be the poster child for how well a village can be run without a mayor. So, something else to think about. Thank you, Ken, for tossing that in to the mix here on Tall Tales. So, Real Joe, I think as long as I haven't quite remembered what the Second Amendment says verbatim right off the top of my head, we'll go straight into Zami Ikatni. And the PDN has an editorial today on page 24, and it says, resolve this nightmare. Stand up for Hong Kong democracy. And it is an article on the protests that are still ongoing in Hong Kong. pro-democracy demonstrations going on, and this is from the USA Today editorial board. I'm going to recommend that you read it because these goings-on are important, happening in our region. You know, if you've ever thought about back in the bad old days when we had world domination by worldwide communism domination, we were concerned about falling dominoes. If South Vietnam fell, then Cambodia would fall, and then Vietnam would fall, and Burma, and then Malaysia, and Singapore, and Indonesia, and right on through, right? Well, Hong Kong has been turned over to mainland People's Republic of China, and now even though they have guarantees for 50 years of having their own government, their own form of government, already that's breaking down. And the folks in Taiwan are looking at this example of just how well they could get along if they were to be absorbed into the People's Republic of China. And so I will refer that to you and recommend you read it. Also, Michael Bavakwa has his regular column, Sahuma Minagahit, Group Links Marginalized People Around World. And he talks about being part of the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization. That Speaker Tina Munya Barnes has proposed a resolution that would seek Guam's membership in the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization. So he's talking about the various peoples who are seeking to have greater either political autonomy within or outside their current national sovereign arrangement. And so, interesting article there. Interesting move. Don't know whether this is something that an officer of the United States government can pursue without penalty, but we'll leave that up to the authorities. Not Michael Bivacqua, because he's, as an academic, he's not the one that's seeking membership, but for the Speaker of the Guam Legislature, which is an instrumentality of the United States government, to seek that, I would think somebody might walk over there and slap her hand and say, "Don't do that." You know, I don't know. Maybe they'll walk over with a carrot and say, "Wouldn't you rather enjoy this?" In the Guam Daily Post, also on page 24, coordination. The Guam Daily Post editorial today is public safety agencies must share safety-sensitive information immediately. It's like a half page. So I don't know if you've read this. You should have already. You should have been already with your subscription to the Guam Daily Post. But if not, this is what they have to say. On Thursday afternoon, a news team from the Guam Daily Post visited the area where the alleged abduction and rape of a 13-year-old girl occurred in Dededo. Our team went there for the second day. While the Post staff sought out residents who were willing to talk, our team was also confronted with questions. One resident asked why it took us nearly 2 days to report on the abduction and rape that allegedly occurred Monday evening. Our team was asked why we cared now when we didn't report on the matter sooner. The Post went to the scene in less than an hour of us hearing about the incident on Wednesday, thanks in part to Dededo Mayor Melissa Savares, who lives in the neighborhood that shares the same block as Maria Ulloa Elementary School and is a short walk to Benavente Middle School. Police subsequently released information to the public on Wednesday afternoon, 2 days after the alleged attack. The victim, who lives in the area near Papa's store on West San Antonio Avenue, had just made a purchase at the store Monday night and was heading home when she was allegedly grabbed and then sexually assaulted in a nearby jungle. The girl survived the alleged attack but had to be transported to Guam Memorial Hospital. On Wednesday, it was pretty clear the neighbors were on edge and contemplated taking justice into their own hands. Savaris acknowledged some of the neighbors were so enraged that as police were combing the jungle in the surrounding area, residents were searching along with them. Quote, they were grabbing pipes and machetes because they were going to find the perpetrator, end quote, Savaris said. As of Thursday afternoon, there was no word from police whether they have a suspect and if the suspect is still at large. The police haven't changed their public announcement that they need the public's help in getting information that would lead them to identify the suspect. We know the Guam Police Department lacks officers. They need more officers on the street to adequately cover the island's villages, particularly Dedido, which is the most populated and covers one of the large geographical areas on Guam, in terms of residential communities on Guam. We also understand that GPD needed time to verify and check out the call. But we also know that in situations such as these, when a suspect is on the loose and could pose a continuing danger to the community, it is GPD's responsibility to let the public know what's going on as soon as possible, even when the information is preliminary. Waiting for 2 days to confirm that a suspect in child abductor and rape might be still roaming our community is not the right way to do right by our residents. We don't completely fault the police department, which is overwhelmed with so many calls and cases and bogged down by very limited staffing. We do need to point out that informing the public with urgency is paramount even when police don't have the full picture of the events. And the alleged abduction and sexual assault in Dedido is just one of the more recent cases involving a gap in public safety information dissemination. When a random shooting suspect may be lurking in a dark highway on Route 15, we need to know quickly. When 2 escapees jump the prison fence, we in the community also need to know right away. When our awareness is heightened because we are armed with information from our public safety agencies, we become better prepared to look after our safety. It also puts us on alert so that we know that something slightly out of place could be something more, and that information shared with police could help them identify and get the suspect off the streets. We recognize that keeping our streets safe has to be a community effort, but the community can't help if we don't know what's going on. We can't continue to be in the dark. We don't want to be caught off guard. That's the editorial from the Guam Daily Post today, entitled Public Safety Agencies Must Share Safety-Sensitive Information Immediately. And as we all take a deep breath and consider what I just read, thank you, Joe, for the reminder. It is time to chill, and it is a Friday afternoon. So for those of you who are still at work, my condolences. I'm very sorry that you are in that situation, but you'll be free. And next week is only like a three-day work week, and a 2-day work week, and then you party on Wednesday, right? And then you have Thursday off, and then Friday is shopping day. Then you have Saturday and Sunday. So you'll have your time. You'll have plenty of time to catch up. Interesting. I'm going to opine here on the opinion, and that is, I trust the Guam Police Department to handle these cases properly. If they had a really good description of the assailant, it would have been much easier to go out and ask where this assailant might be, because they'd have a good description to go around. And yes, they did have to comb the jungle. But if they didn't put out a lot of information, it may be either they know who they're going after and they can't quite pin it on him, or they don't know who they're going after and don't want the public to start picking up people randomly on the street and dispensing vigilante justice. I trust the police to handle these cases. And yes, when they have escapes from the jails, the jail in the Ganya, the DOC, I think they're embarrassed. But they also have places that they know they're going to go look. So they don't call up civil defense and say, like an Amber Alert. Tell everyone, we've just had 2 people out of DOC and they're presumed armed and dangerous. No, they just headed over to the girlfriend's house to have a beer, and some R&R. And they just go over and, send somebody over to the house and go, hey, we don't need to have a knock them down, drag them out. Just walk out here or give us a call and let us know when you're ready to come in so we don't have to go chase you around and maybe have to shoot you. You don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want to endanger anyone. So, as long as nobody's getting hurt, this can all end happily. Happy ending. So, I trust the police. Some years back, my late sister was involved with a fellow whose brother-in-law was the chief of detectives. And we sat down over a beer at some party and we just had a little chat. And I came to highly respect the efforts of the detectives in the Guam Police Department who really, truly know this community and have come up through the ranks of the Guam Police Department and are conscientious, and they know us, and they know the communities. They know how things work. And we need to trust them. Now, if it's something that's, embarrassing to the administration, well then, let's just remember the egg on the face, okay? Stop wiping the egg off their faces when you see the poster when it's on the side of the road for re-election. That's how we hold them accountable. Oops, we let somebody out again. Oops, don't need to spank anybody. Oops, we forgot to hold anyone accountable in the jail. Oh yeah, we forgot about that. Oh yeah, we had an investigation, nothing happened. No. That's how we get back at our elected officials, and that's the calculation that they make in the agencies, whether they're going to inform us. But at a working level, it's important that the police are able to do their job. They don't have enough people to cover everything, which means they really have to be smarter than the average bear. And those people we need to put our trust into. So that's what I say about this issue. So, that's the deal. Let's see. Taking a look over here at Facebook Live to see what in the world is going on otherwise. Ken Leon Guerrero is saying, latest from PDN. I guess it must be the website. Department of Corrections Director Samantha Brennan has resigned effective Friday, according to the governor's office. And then Richard Leon is commenting further. Guam's smallness produces greater failure and impact. Indeed, this should be a very easy community to administer. He continues, AG should inspect Brennan's action. Brennan jeopardized public safety. Brennan ran away like a Janilla. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess he's making a parallel to someone else here. Nate Horn says, just a reminder, next year, the entire month of April is 420. Ooh, that's right. Not just April 20th. And not just 420 in the morning of April 20th or 420 in the afternoon of April 20th. The whole month is 420. My goodness. No wonder they needed to pass the bill this year. make sure it was going to be on the books for next year. You know, just call a holiday. You know, island-wide medicinal, you know, treatment day. Let's see. CBD, right? CBD? Okay, so CBD. So what does that stand for?
Cabin-nabba-nabba-nabba.
No, not that. Not that. Could be different. Could be different. You know? Could be different. CBD. Guam needs Batman, says Nate Horn. Oh, I'd settle for Batgirl. I vote for Batgirl. You know, I've always been impressed by Batwoman. Batwoman. Yeah, that's more my speed. I want to see strong women standing up for what's right, not taking excuses. I thought that Real Joe, isn't that what many people voted for last election?
I think so.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the Batwoman.
I forget.
We have 10 candidates in the legislature for Batwoman.
I have the attention span of a pinky.
We have 10 candidates for Batwoman in the legislature. We have one candidate for Batwoman up at Adelup. And any one of them could step forward in cape and black tights, you know, and we would all go, ooh, there she is.
Yep.
So just imagine all of them auditioning for the role, like, you know, Miss Earth Guam or something, right? Batwoman of Guam. Thank you, Nate, for that visual treat. You know, it's like, you know, we have to imagine before we can act on getting, you know, a better community or to get more out of the people around us. You know, if you're going to expect something from, you know, as you're teaching your children and you expect more from them, you have to imagine them doing better and doing the things that they should do when they're more mature and having confidence in them to do it. And you imagine it. So there's your 10 at the legislature and the one at Adelup. My candidates for Batwoman. Richard Leon says, lock her up, lock her up. Trust is a rusty nail. Samantha Brennan. Ooh. That's a good one, Richard. I'm going to remember that. It's 4:30, and it's time to take our first break of the show, and we'll be right back with more Tall Tales.
Did you know that home loan rates have plunged again? Would you like to take advantage of these lower rates to help lower your monthly payments? Refinancing doesn't have to be for another 30 years. It can be for 10, 15, or 20 years. It's up to you. Reduce your monthly payments. Pay off your loan earlier. At Bank Pacific, where we're open to closing your loan in a hurry.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal housing lender. Credit conditions apply.
Are you ready for some football? The Ray Gibson Show has got your fix every day with the Points NFL Pick'em contest. Get the latest updates as we check out the past week's performance and break down the upcoming action. Get your game on by calling the hotline at 888-TALK or sound off on Facebook Live at thepoint.gu. League members get a chance to win some awesome weekly prizes with a shot for your choice of a new GTA phone. The NFL Pick'em contest is brought to you by Current Guam with special thanks to GTA.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by American Water Tech, a passion for improving lives through better water.
And now back to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the one radio show politicians don't want you to listen to. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty.
And thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. I know I've been away for a while, but happy to be back. And also, it's a good thing that Bob Klitzkie will be back on Monday. Applause. Where's that applause button? You haven't been pushing that thing enough. Oh, yeah, coming back. We'll all be standing here to greet him. And looking forward to his perspectives, especially on, you know, things that are near and dear to his heart. Second Amendment stories and the administration of justice and the proper understanding by all of us of that process of criminal justice to make sure that it is rendered accurately and swiftly, for our good, for the good of this entire community. I wonder if one of you who were on Facebook Live, if you could tell me whether, I tried to share about a half hour ago, and I don't know whether it went out. I don't know whether it shows up on your screen that I actually successfully shared. But I guess maybe you may not be able to see it. I guess I'll have to do it again. It's saying, no. Anyway, I'm trying to, it says like start a watch party. I don't want to get into this. This morning at 7:30, I attended the Economic Outlook Forum sponsored by the Bank of Guam. And the topic was Purpose Beyond Profit, and with a special view on sustainability. And you would think that this would be a pretty dry topic for those of you who are not economists. And it used to be that economics was considered the dismal science. But over the last 20 or 30 years, it's become something of a spectator sport, like, watching the stock market rise, or, cheering unemployment numbers falling, or, needing to generate more manufacturing jobs, or, wringing our hands over interest rates. And to some of us, this really, a better understanding of the economy is a good thing. It's education. But when the news about our economy becomes part of political spin, it is not. It is, to take, for example, this concept of sustainability. It's an evolution of the concept of risk management. And risk dictates interest rates. So a riskier project would require a higher interest rate on the money, or more collateral, or something. It wouldn't be cheap money going into a project that has high risk. But the economy is not the same as the economy that I studied back in the 70s. Whether it's the national economy or the economy of companies, individual companies starting an individual business, or the economy of lending and borrowing, finding credit, or the economy of the government versus the private economy. Lots of blurring of concepts. And what we really need to return to is clarity, because so much of the discussion has been at the service of political campaigns, not at the service of the civic understanding, so that we can craft our own future, and direct our own future as a democratic society. And so I wanted to go to this forum today down at the Dusatani just to see just what it is that they're talking about. So there was an excellent presentation by a woman from the Marshalls who bore witness internationally to the difficulty that people in the Marshall Islands, 72,000 people, have struggling with the future of climate change. Now, I know many, many, many people listening to Fox Radio are not convinced of climate change, and I will leave that to you to reconcile in your own mind. I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. All I'm going to tell you about is what this woman says about how the sea level is now high enough to wash over grave sites and ruin crops and flood homes and batter seawalls. And these are king tides. The king tides are not caused by climate change. But when you take a king tide and you combine it with the generally higher sea level, then it pushes more water over the reef and then hence over the island. A little bit of change at the reef level, a couple of inches, 6 inches, and then much more power is transmitted from the ocean swells to area inside the reef, and this evolution is faster than the reef itself or the drainage of the lagoon can handle without impacting people. And 72,000 people, so who cares, right? But the whole nation could be underwater at the current rate in 11 years. The Marshall Islands would be uninhabitable. So let's see. Selena Lem. And she was explaining this, and she has done so at the Paris Climate Conference, held recently. And they don't have funds to raise the land. So instead of 30 years of forecast at the rate, it's 11 years. And she's talking about how the young people recognize this as being a time when, unlike the history of their people, there is no land to pass down to their children, because there is no future in having land with rising water. There is no nation to inherit. There is no property to inherit in their particular story. I'm taking a look at some of my notes here, and there's some people who think it's if it happens, and there's some people who are saying when it happens, and they're still kind of, having this tug of war, tussle over which applies. Is it if or is it when? They have to figure out what they're going to do with themselves, 72,000 people, because they don't have any way to raise their land higher than it is. The average level above sea, the average height above sea level is 6 feet. So, but the problem is with the every little bit of sea level increase brings more water over the reef, hence more water over the land. And this is wave action, swells action, which makes it uninhabitable. I'm not talking about just level water. You're out in the middle of the ocean. And she read a poem. And it was an excellent poem, impassioned and informative. But it made me think that at some point, someone, somewhere, whether within their community or within the international community listening to this, or within the American government, would have just said, well, hey, yes, they got 60 atom bombs dropped on them. And yes, their people have a history of DNA damage from the radiation fallout and the ongoing poisoning of their land and the waters from the radionuclides. you would think that they'd have enough and they would just get up and leave. You know, it's like they didn't learn anything. You know, I mean, how many bombs do we have to drop on them? How many times do we have to poison them or tell them, I'm sorry, we don't have any more money for to make it right. You would think that, you know, they'd get smart and just, you know, move. And it's the state of the world these days. But we're talking about within the American sphere of influence, like Guam, outside the United States, people whose future is at their future as a people is a direct result of decisions made in Washington, D.C. Not on their own islands, not individually, unless it is one of the options given to them by the people in Washington, D.C. And that was a parallel to me. I'll leave it to you to look in further. That was one of the topics. That was the first topic. And whether you are one who says no, there's no climate change and those people can just sit tight, or no, we don't need more chicken pluckers in Arkansas, or you know, they're complaining about babies being sold, they sold them. Whatever it is that you might glom onto as a single, you know, preeminent point or touchstone with you as far as the plight of those people. And maybe it's not your responsibility at all, but there are people acting in your name as Americans, acting in your name, in your interest, that impacts them. And I just wanted to bring that out, and whether you are involved or not. Well, maybe you're just involved because you're kind of glad that most Marshallese go east instead of head west. You know, it's closer to Hawaii than to here, so they go there. The second topic that was mentioned that was featured in today's Economic Outlook Forum, Purpose Beyond Profit, was by Keen Cook, the top administrator, executive of Bank of Guam. The business case for purpose, he cited the Harvard Business Review article. He was talking about the need to have purpose before profit, a purpose beyond profit. Their purpose beyond profit, the theme of the forum this morning. And he talked about how we're now businesses now are stressing their purpose for being, and it's not the Milton Friedman, you know, the guy who wrote the textbooks that I was reading when I was in college, talking about that the social responsibility of companies is to make profit. I'm part of the old school. I think companies should just make profits, just get in there and make profit and pay taxes, whatever the tax rate is, because the government, through its policies, its taxing policies, its spending policies, is supposed to be able to balance the interests of everyone. When it doesn't happen, that's when you start getting political candidates jumping up and offering solutions that sound socialist. We got to have more unions. We got to organize. We got to have free health care. We've got to have free education, a free college education. We've got to have more this, more that, more the other. Or less spending on defense so that we can spend more on Medicare. Or we need more subsidy for farming so that we can grow more food. and not have to import it. Or we need to subsidize more hotels so that we can, increase all those decisions are political decisions. And so, but we rely on companies to be profitable. They should be profitable. But now his talk was about how companies recognize that to market themselves and to retain employees, they have to have a social purpose, not profit. Beyond profit. Purpose beyond profit. And then they use that to communicate that sense of purpose. It becomes a company ethos. It becomes their reason for being. And they communicate that through their employees and to their customers, to their stockholders. And many companies are morphing in this sense. I'm old school. I just want companies to make profit and then pay taxes instead of getting all fuzzy. I like nonprofits. They have their purpose. They say we want to qualify for contributions. We want to do these good works, and if government will support these good works by giving tax breaks to donors, profit-making companies who will donate and support us, then and this is how it's been going on for the last 50, 60, 70 years. But that's not so much the case now. Now, major companies want to create their own nonprofit persona, their sense of purpose that puts this kind of a candy coat over top of the amount of profits they're making. But this effort is actually funded by profit. They reinvest. I was telling Ken after the forum, sounds to me like you're reinvesting your cost. You're taking profits. You're taking money that you would have put out as donations and to nonprofits. And you don't want to pay. It's not that you don't want to pay it in taxes, but you don't have to pay it in taxes. You can increase your cost by adding to your marketing campaign, by having your own nonprofit. Pay less taxes, but within your own company. You're just reinvesting your own money in yourself, but in the guise of a nonprofit. It's an interesting conversation, completely respectful, but not on the question and answer side, just on the side. It was a good moment. Wow! And speaking of moments, it is the time to take a break here. It's 10 minutes before 5 o'clock here on Tall Tales. I'm Daryl Taggarty. I'm back for today. Bob will be back on Monday, and I'll be back in about just after this break.
In life, we all have the ability to make a difference, to make an impact on someone's life. As we look around us, time never stops, but we are filled with endless moments of gratitude. The art of giving is incorporated in so many different ways. At Guam Gift Baskets, we want to be able to express your gratitude and love to those who you care about. Show your appreciation with a gift made with love this holiday season. Visit our website at guamgiftbaskets.com. See the smiles, touch their hearts, feel the experience.
'Tis the season to be feasting. Indulge the fun way at Sandalo Club's Donut Dash 2K 5K on Saturday, November 30 at Tizen Complex. Race starts at 6 a.m. There will be cash prizes, and the first 300 finishers get a free coffee mug, perfect for dunking those donuts you will get when you register. The more donuts you eat, the better you'll do. The Donut Dash registration fee is $15. Register online at guamdonutdash.eventbrite.com or call 488-9028. A portion of the proceeds will benefit the Guam Police Department.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific, banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
And thank you very much for that music, Real Joe. I'm a music person, and not all the time, but radio music radio person. But I am happy to be with you when I am here on Tall Tales. Continuing the presentation of Keen Cook this morning, he was talking about how Generation Z, demographics are so different. Now companies are starting to realize that they have to start changing direction in order to maintain their appeal to young ones coming up who have only known a globalized economy. They don't know. They didn't live in a time when there were trade wars, high tariffs. You have Gen Xers, Gen Ys, and Gen Zs. And Gen Zs have absorbed all of the technology and all of the current day and all of the lessons of just what a globalized economy can be. And no amount of trying to roll this thing back into some kind of an earlier regime is going to fly, because they already know what it is to have this globalized economy. It's like asking the people of Hong Kong to just go quietly into communism. Ain't going to happen. Not going to happen without some bloodshed and a major exodus of not only people but money. You know, freedom, you know, and nature, right? So, Generation Z, they have technology to extend their speech. They can communicate without having to be tied down to legacy systems. And they are purposeful. Hence, purpose beyond profit. Because if companies are not expressing their purpose for even trying to generate profits, they're not going to have customers. That's a real dilemma. It's not the same kind of dilemma of generating profits. They have to generate relevance. And they have to articulate their relevance to a growing customer base. Or, you know, potential customer base, rather. A growing potential customer base, as the United States economy is based on consumption. What's going to keep Gen Z applicants, for if they want to buy a home or to save money, why would they go to a local institution? Why wouldn't they access institutions in cyberspace that have no particular national identity? We've all seen over the past year efforts to create new banking structures. And of course, Bitcoin's been with us for a little while. And it's still proving, you know, these cyber currencies. So the Gen Z survey is a form of feedback on not only our current marketing and commercial organization, but also our political organization. Because our political organization is supposed to be reflecting our desires. It's supposed to be responsive to our needs. You know, we're supposed to be, through our elected representatives, creating the regime that we wish to live under in the future and adjusting as we go along. But if our government is not responsive as Bank of Guam holding a forum that's called Purpose Beyond Profit. If Bank of Guam is reading the writing on the wall, then where are our, you know, heroes in government to stand up and take the island forward all of us, forward. You know? So James Howard says, you haven't seen anything yet. Google Neurakink for the new tech. Oh, I know. I'm 65 years old. I know I am not ahead of the curve here. You know? And I also know that I'm not in a position to enjoy the fruits of the labor of today. Our challenge is to create a better world for our children. Create to establish and maintain a community where our children can live a better life, a more secure life, or at least a secure life, and have a future. And I don't see that happening. I see so many questions of efficiency, of organization, of status, of great potential, but no investment in that potential. Oh, David Del Sola was talking about it today, and we'll continue this after the 5 o'clock news. He was talking about apprenticeship incentives available here on Guam, and it's actually just an extension of education. It's 4:59. It's time for me to make way for Fox News and our thrilling. I haven't thrilled to this in a little while. Our halftime show, and I'll be back. I'm sitting here, but I'll be back with you for another hour this afternoon here on Tall Tales.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
Strong words from foreign policy experts. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. In a riveting appearance on Capitol Hill, Fiona Hill, a former National Security Council expert on Russia, implored Republicans to stop peddling the fictional narrative that Ukraine interfered in U.S. elections rather than Russia.
This is exactly what the Russian government was hoping for. If they seed misinformation, they seed doubt. They have everybody questioning the legitimacy of a presidential candidate, be it President Trump or potentially President Clinton.
Hill and David Holmes, a political counsel to the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, detailed what they viewed as political influence in crafting U.S. policy towards Ukraine, often directed by the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani.
It became apparent that Mr. Giuliani was having a direct influence on the foreign policy agenda that the three amigos were executing on the ground in Ukraine.
Holmes detailed a phone call he overheard between President Trump and the U.S. ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland. Holmes says the focus of the president was investigations. Fiona Hill said Sondland was carrying out a domestic political errand for the president.
Fox's Jared Halpern. Congressman Devin Nunes, the top Republican on the panel, calls the hearings a show trial with a predetermined verdict.
I hope Mr. Schiff will clarify how much longer we will waste on this effort and what other vital legislation he's willing to sacrifice for this impeachment crusade.
And sources tell Fox News a House committee could craft articles of impeachment against the president as soon as next month. And Chinese President Xi saying today that Beijing wants a trade deal with the U.S., but if need be, China will fight back. America's listening to Fox News.
Rain. It's nature's way of cleansing the earth. Yet by the time that rainwater makes its way to your home, it may not be exactly the same as nature created it. A Kinetico water treatment system can improve the quality of the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home, so you can be sure your water is clear, clean, and fresh, just as nature intended it to be. Kinetico, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech, a passion for improving lives through better water.
We understand what matters to you because at Docomo Pacific, we're a family too. With the Now Family program, mom, dad, and kids stay connected on the latest devices the whole family can enjoy. For just $155 a month, get 3 lines with 30 gigs of 4G LTE data each, and endless use of your favorite apps without affecting your monthly data bucket. Add more, get more, save more. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply.
Fears of E. coli contamination prompt a salad recall in several states.
More than 75,000 pounds of salad from Missa Bay are being recalled in 22 states, from Maine to Illinois to Florida. The Agriculture Department warns certain salads with meat or chicken could contain a strain of the E. coli bacteria, which can cause diarrhea and vomiting. The contaminated salads in question were produced between October 14th and 16th and sold at Walmart, Target, and Aldi stores. Tom Graham, Fox News.
A judge temporarily halts the first federal execution since 2003 while a lawsuit on how the government intends to carry them out continues. A jury in New Zealand convicts a man for the murder of a 22-year-old British backpacker, Grace Milan, killed last December. Victoria's Secret's Angels won't strut the catwalk this year. The fashion show's officially canceled as the company tries to figure out how to advance the brand.
The longtime lingerie model show's cancellation follows months of speculation and declining ratings. According to Business Insider, the show, which began in 1995, features top models called angels wearing lingerie. It has seen a deep dive in the ratings department. In 2018, the show only had 3.3 million viewers compared to 9.7 million in 2013. L Brand's CEO Lex Wexner, in a memo to employees, said the company didn't think network television is the right fit for the show. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
And stocks slipped Thursday amid conflicting signs on the U.S.-China trade deal. The Dow lost 54 points. The Nasdaq fell 20. One investor calls the anxiety over U.S. trade and with China a roller coaster for the markets. I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
'Tis the season to be feasting. Indulge the fun way at Sandalo Club's Donut Dash 2K 5K on Saturday, November 30 at Tizen Complex. Race starts at 6 a.m. There will be cash prizes, and the first 300 finishers get a free coffee mug, perfect for dunking those donuts you will get when you register. The more donuts you eat, the better you'll do. The Donut Dash registration fee is $15. Register online at guamdonutdash.eventbrite.com or call 488-9028. A portion of the proceeds will benefit the Guam Police Department.
Are you ready for some football? The Ray Gibson Show has got your fix every day with the Points NFL Pick'em contest. Get the latest updates as we check out the past week's performance and break down the upcoming action. Get your game on by calling the hotline at 888-TALK or sound off on Facebook Live at thepoint.gu. League members get a chance to win some awesome weekly prizes with a shot for your choice of a new GTA phone. The NFL Pick'em contest is brought to you by Current Guam with special thanks to GTA.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific, banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
And welcome back to Tall Tales. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know that I've been away and you have been enjoying the network programming here on The Point on weekday afternoons from during the time when Tall Tales normally would be on. But with both Bob Klitzkie out and me out, you know, you were thinking about national matters. And that's okay. That's a good thing because there's lots going on in the national scene that you should be aware of and concerned about, and also examining some of the different ways that the perspectives on the same set of facts. And I'm all for that. I'm all for that. However, here on Tall Tales, we're concentrating on just what's going on here on Guam. And I thank you so much for tuning in. I'm back with you just for this one day. I'll be here until 6 o'clock, about another 51 minutes. And then on Monday, we will celebrate the return of Bob Klitzkie to this very microphone, this very chair, this very same time slot. So I'm happy to be back with you for this one day and to invite your comments and to invite your calls at 888-8255 to talk about those concerns that we have here in our community today. Those concerns, not so much the complaints and the shortcomings, but solutions, resolutions. Why wait to January 1st to make a resolution? How about making a resolution today? How about going into Thanksgiving, counting our blessings? And it's not a matter of, complaining and, finding fault. But count our blessings and include those blessings that are the power that you have to move forward, to move the community forward, just within your own circle, your own immediate circle of influence. What power do you have? You have a mind, you have an interest, you have time, you have a mouth, right? You have relatives, you have friends, and you can engage them. You may have money. If you have money, you want to put your money where your mouth is, right? You want to be, and if you have access to those, people in power, you may want to be, sizing them up for that Batwoman suit. If you missed my comments earlier, last hour, if we ever needed a hero, and not that we have to wait for a hero, we should all be heroes and do what it is that we can do with our community. But if you're looking for a hero, I've got how many nominees for Batwoman? We got 10 at the legislature and 1 at Adelup. And if you don't want to be sexist about it, we could probably have a bat person. Then you got 15 at the legislature and 2 at Adelup. And we could have a unisex suit, just a bat person. Imagine your favorite political figure dressed in black tights, wearing a mask and cape, and those, space age booties. Just imagine that. And then they need enough others to follow them or to stand with them, to take us forward. Because it ain't happening now. We thought we elected them, with Batwoman powers, but there are apparently not enough of them to go forward. So before the break, I was talking about today's Economic Outlook Forum, sponsored by the Bank of Guam. Thank you very much, Bank of Guam, for that, for the event this morning down at the Dusitani. The theme of the Economic Outlook Forum was Purpose Beyond Profit. So we were talking about the presentation by Selena Lam from the Marshalls on sustainability of national existence in the face of climate change. You know, from a resident of a shoreline property. You know, why? You know, she allowed us a window into the perspective of a person who lives near the shore. Now, here on Guam, who are we going to talk to get the same perspective? She suggested talk to the people that are living down in Maleso, in the low-lying areas that are already being affected by the level of water in the reef. How it's affecting their properties along the shore. Oh, we could go down to Tumon and take a walk from the Hilton to what's the name of that hotel? It's rebranded, right? The new hotel, right? Loti, right? The old Okura. And just go out there and concern yourself with what's going to happen to Tumon Bay when there's no sand left to walk on. And all those properties, those private properties, become the new coastline. And the government of Guam doesn't want to enforce, you know, the definition of public land anymore. And there's no more Tumon Bay. Or maybe there isn't anything to be concerned about at all because it's all a hoax. It ain't happening. Don't worry about it. Especially those of you who live on high ground. Right? Don't worry about having to rebuild Marine Drive in East Agania. Or Agania. Don't worry about that. You know, I mean, that's something for the Gen Xers and the Gen Ys and the Gen Zs to think about. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just fill your SUV with gas and, you know, cruise right on through. You know, turn up your aircon. And don't worry about the cost of, as long as you've got you're earning enough money now and you've got a good pension, you can afford to blast your aircon for like until the end of your days and pay your GPA bill. Don't worry about it. You know, there's going to be a nice, shiny new electric generation plant built up on the high ground, and we can retire the ones that are down there in Petey that are exposed to natural disaster like climate change, and we can, you know, at least we've already GPA and the CCU have already looked forward in the future, and they've already relocated our power plant. And at least we can, you know, when you go to Mass, get on your knees and thank goodness for the prescience of the CCU to make this happen, you know, in enough time to make sure before the power plant's underwater. You know? But, or not. Don't worry about it, right? Melanie Mendiola from GITA was a presenter. And she was talking about, she's an economist. Well, at least she's teaching economics out at UOG. And she was talking about GITA and minimum, some of the indicators, economic indicators. Interesting, inconclusive, and that's okay. Because this forum this morning was not heavy on statistics and analysis and coming to understand the economy of today. Let's see. Neuralink. James Howard says Neuralink is actually what it was that he wanted to refer us to. Neuralink. N-E-U. N-U-E-R-A. Link. Neuralink. Tashur Selsom says 5G. Yeah, well, when we get 5G, we'll be able to communicate faster. That's for sure. The same content that we have now, and maybe more of it. But are we any smarter to have all this tech? Richard Leon says apprenticeships should have been a priority long ago to deal with crisis instead of believing PI workers are the way. Had this discussion on the side with David Della Sola this morning about apprenticeships and how it depresses the labor of Guam from developing into this area. But he said we have to have the H-2s because otherwise we wouldn't be able to have to build. We could not sustain those jobs. We would lose them. Even if we developed them, we would still lose them. Let's go to the phones. Line 1, you are on the air. Welcome to Tall Tales.
Well, I want to go back to your earlier conversations about the disappearing of Tuman.
Sure.
I was gone for 30 years. So I left Guam in 79. I came back in 07. And when I came back, I was shocked at the changes I'd seen in our coastline. I mean, when I left Talifofo Bay, you had a big, long, grassy area, and then the sand went out another 100 yards, and we had the long side and the short side for surfing. You go down to Inarajan, and just before you enter the village, there was a grassy area that went way out into the bay. And when I came back in, the ocean was practically to the road. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you had the seawalls protecting Inarajan and the seawalls protecting the highway at Talifofo. And Nimitz Beach, God, it used to be much bigger, much bigger. Now you drive by today, concrete pavilions are falling into the ocean. So this is something real. This is something that's happening.
No. Come on. Come on.
Yes, I promise. There used to be a beach at Nimitz Beach once upon a time.
I think we ought to put some A/B pictures up because this is an educational point. It's not a doctrinaire. It's not a matter of the doctrine of believing the science or not believing the science. It is a matter of education so that you can present science or you can present evidence.
Or we can deal with the reality of what we see happening, Yeah,
and that's part of that is
what is causing it. It's happening,
Yes,
something we're going to have to deal with. Now, look at Hawaii. Hawaii, I think it's like every 7 or 8 months they bring a barge load of sand over from Maui and they pump it out onto Waikiki Beach in an effort to keep their tourist machine working. Are we going to get to the point where we have to do the same thing? I don't know. The reef we have might be protecting our beach, but how long will we have that reef? There used to be an island out on that reef. We don't have it anymore.
It's pretty small. I was when I was living back in on the East Coast some decades back, they had in Virginia Beach, Virginia, in order to sustain the beach, they had a offshore dredging machine or a barge, and they had a big pipeline to the shore, and all day long, all year round, they were pumping sand from way offshore in, and then they were spreading it with bulldozers to get the sand back on the beach so they could keep their industry going. Interesting.
It's interesting you bring that up because the Department of Defense, whether the federal government as a whole recognizes that they do, because one of the prime military installations that is currently being affected by whatever is happening is the Navy base there at Virginia Beach. At King High Tides, they have key parts of that installation underwater.
I was reading.
Whole docks.
I had mentioned that.
Piers.
Yeah, I had mentioned that the first airfield commissioned by the United States military, Langley Field in Hampton Roads, Virginia. They were talking about the elevation of the field, and they said it is 14 inches lower than it was when it was founded about 100 years ago. Ken, can I ask you a favor?
Sure.
Can you talk until I get back from the restroom? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Well, what we were looking at earlier today is we were at an economic conference, and this was one of the ingredients that was brought up in the conference. It's something that we as citizens need to be worried about, because what is happening here in our economy very closely to the tourism industry. One of the reasons we have a tourism industry is because we have such a wonderful product when we're talking about the island of Guam, but already when you see our beaches eroding, parks eroding, then our product doesn't become as viable over time. And us as a strong look at what we can do to help that, and could have long-term implications for what happens to the economy that our children and our grandchildren are going to have to deal with. Because if we lose the tourism part of our economy, and there's many ways that could happen. One of the things that we heard from Guam Visitors Bureau is that a lot of tourists feel our product is old. A lot of people feel the trash are an issue. And these are things that we citizens can be working on, because we have to recognize that our island is the product, and the tourists come to have an experience here on Guam. And with that experience, they go back, and word of mouth is the most powerful advertising that is. Forget what the Visitors Bureau does when they send delegations out. What brings more tourists to Guam is tourists having a successful and happy and pleasant trip. And when they go back and share those memories, those are the things that will bring more tourists to Guam. And the funny thing is that when we do things to improve the quality of the tourist visit, we also do things to improve the quality of the resident visit. How many times have we gone to parks like at Inarahan Pool or Epan Public Beach and been disgusted by the levels of trash we see strewn all over the facility? When we are able to go to Inarahan Pool or the park and have an incredibly clean park, it changes the quality of our experience for us and for the tourists. So, to a degree, ecology and economy on Guam are going together hand in hand, and we can't ignore one without damaging the other.
Well, I'm going to have to jump in here, Ken. I'm going to ask Real Joe, did you have to hit that cough button at any time? Did he say anything that we really can't say over the air here?
No, he actually had some very good points. In fact, I was going to ask if you could cover me while I go to the bathroom.
Unfortunately, I can't reach through the speaker. The switchboard for you.
Well, but I would have to go. I would have to go over and run the board while he runs the bathroom, and then you would talk. That's how that would work.
Well, I just wanted to sum up saying that the presentation today was very good about showing how our economy and our ecology are intertwined. And anything that we do to improve the ecology will improve the economy. And the way we improve the economy is by taking care of our ecology.
Wasn't it that we were promoted because not only for our location so close to Japan, I mean, we're not part of the Aleutian Islands, you know. We have sun and sand, and we have a beautiful tropical setting, and we are friendly, right? That's why people come here. And what have we been doing? We haven't been cultivating that sun, sand,
and friendly.
We haven't been called. Yeah, you know, it has been, but it's not been a full-on push, and it also has not involved the community. It's sort of like, oh yeah, okay, GVB could take care of it. They've got all the funding, and then they can go ahead and cut our grass, and we don't have to cut the grass anymore. You know?
Yeah,
it's like, what? We don't have to clean the bathrooms anymore. GVB can take care of cleaning bathrooms. We don't have to do that anymore. Ridiculous.
I don't know if you recall, but remember back in the 70s when tourism was just getting started, and over there in coming down from Jonia, between Jonia and Tokcha, we had the Turtle Tours camp there where they had the little A-frame huts.
Yes.
Remember those?
Yes,
days?
yes.
Well, what Turtle Tours also did is they maintained the roadside, and they kept the jungle cut back so that the moment you came around the bend up there in Jonia, you had spectacular views down the entire southeastern coastline as you came down that winding road all the way down to the Elig River Bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a private company that did that as part of enhancing the tourist experience, so that the tourists, when they were coming down the hill and on the Round the Island tours, they would get that spectacular view and vista. But we as residents also benefited from it. I mean, I miss it, you know, because the jungle's overgrown now. There's only a couple of places where you have a view, and only for a couple of seconds. But once upon a time, you had a view from the moment you hit that curve until you got down to the bridge. See, these are things we as residents and villagers, village organizations, can look at how we can improve the quality of life in our village, and in the process, improve the quality of life for tourists.
Yeah,
will improve our economy.
Improve our quality of life for ourselves so that we have more quality to share with visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I did the same thing here on a piece of property that we have. We maintain a clearing so that when people drive along our property, they can see the Philippine Sea from the road.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we didn't have to do that, but, you know, my brother and I, you know, we thought, hey, you know, this would be kind of cool. So we got out there with our bush cutters, cleared the road, and for a long time, that road remained clear, and people driving down that section of road could look out and see the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what we have to offer. We have ocean and beautiful tropics, you know. So anything that we can do, again, I like the symbiotic relationship. Anything we do to improve our quality of life at the village level improves the quality of life for our tourists, which improves our economy because the tourists go back, they tell great stories. And they're not going to tell great stories about the buildings in Tumon. You know, you've seen one high rise, you've seen them all. What they're going to talk about is their experiences as they got outside of Tumon and traveled around the island.
And they might, and the thing is that they might talk about, and this may have happened some years back when the bus had to stop because only one vehicle could pass at a time on the bridges down in Malesu. You know, that isn't something we want people to remember. We want people to remember a nice, smooth road while they're looking at all these, you know, having moments of appreciation of beauty and tropical splendor and smiling people and flowers busting out all over the place. And, you know, this is something that it's an industry, right? But we all enjoy it if each of us, if we're all doing it for each other locally. No, then it's just more to share with the people who come here to appreciate it, and they're getting to this point, but it's the same point that's been made ever since 1968, and that is that we benefit from tourism, but also and we have to invest in it, we have to support it, but the the discussion really has gone back to us as a community. We have to be happier. We have to be more satisfied, and we have to be more generous with each other to get this stuff done. And with a $952 million budget, you would think that we could do some of these things where individuals can't do it, where it can be organized because it's a large, these are public properties, and we have it's more efficient to have, an organized approach to this, not a problem, but to enhancing our attractions. Ken, I got to take a break here. You want to hang on?
I'll call back after the news.
Okay, no, it's actually 5:32, 5:33,
okay.
And time to take a break here at the seventh inning stretch.
All right, I'll hang on.
Okay, thank you. Let's take our break now. Real Joe will be right back with more.
GRMC's cardiology department treats most complex heart problems. In our catheterization lab, cardiologists use imaging equipment to treat clogged arteries that can cause heart attacks or heart failure. We perform balloon angioplasty, stenting, and other life-saving cardiac procedures. If you suffer from a heart condition, have your provider refer you to GRMC's cardiology clinic at 645-5500. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Ever notice how that one perfect holiday gift is just out of reach? Or how sales on the stuff you want all come at the same time? This season, plan ahead with a holiday loan from First Hawaiian Bank. Now you can afford to be nice without being naughty. For more details, visit FHB.com or any branch to apply. Additional restrictions apply. First Hawaiian Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Mescla. Try their featured special for November. Canadian pizza. House-made pizza dough topped with marinara sauce, 3-cheese blend, Canadian bacon, Spanish chorizo, peppers, onions, and cilantro pesto. Available in Agotnya and in Tumon at the Grand Plaza Hotel. For reservations, please call 969-2652.
Hey, all right. Yeah. How about them gnats? That wasn't me smacking a gnat. It was a gnat smacking the ball. Thank you very much, Real Joe, for that break. It was the break I needed, but I couldn't take that stretch earlier. Ken, are you still there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, let me ask you, if you can, I would like for you to kind of be part of this, okay? I'm going to ask you about, I'm going to read some of these comments off Facebook Live, and we'll kind of team it, okay? James Howard says, surgical implant that enhances cognitive thought by increasing bandwidth of your brain upload, download, etc. Elon Musk. I'm not a big fan of yes, I love technology and I love the advances in technology, but I think those advances should be at the service of the improvement of the human condition, not the improvement of marketing, advertising, you know what I mean.
Yeah. And you know what? This is a little known fact. I was in the .com boom. I was, in the leading stages of it, and I saw how the technologies rose and falls like a Darwinian process. And when the internet first hit, for a long time, people weren't sure how to use it and how to play it. And it was kind of stagnant for a while until one industry figured out how they could use the internet And so when they used it, within a year or two, they had dramatically increased the internet across all industries. Do you know what industry figured out how to use the internet first?
Yes.
Which one?
Porn.
Absolutely.
That's right. It was
Porn.
Sex sells.
It was the porn industry that provided the funding that allowed all the streaming services to grow in development at the bit change, or what was it, the bit whatever, bit something?
Bitcoin?
No, not Bitcoin. The program that took video files and broke them down across multiple servers so that you could see them faster. Bitrate, I think.
Oh.
But, so anytime we see a new technology come out, there's going to be an industry pioneer. Now, with this bandwidth, it takes me back to the 1970s and a movie, I know you hate this, but do you remember the movie The President's Analyst?
You keep doing this to me, Ken. You keep challenging me to remember a movie I watched. And it's just one of those
movies. That's your problem.
No, I watch them. I just don't commit them to memory. And I don't commit their plot lines or even their names or the actors. Except
72, 73, there was a movie called The President's Analyst, and the premise was that the telephone companies wanted to have a chip installed in every human at birth, so that in time, all you had to do to reach out and connect to any person in the world is think of who you'd want to talk to, and you'd be connected to them instantly.
Oh, a telemetry chip.
We're almost there now with the smartphones. And have you noticed that as the phones got smarter, we got dumber?
No, we did not.
Yeah, we did. I used to have a couple thousand phone numbers in my head that I could recall in an instant. I was a phenomenon in the industry. Now, I can barely remember my own home number because on my smartphone it's labeled home.
Yes. You don't have to remember numbers.
I don't have to remember numbers. I just have to remember who I want to talk to, and I touch their picture on my contacts, and I'm connected to them instantly. So we're almost there. And what James is talking about is the final step. Because you and I remember the cartoons where we had Dick Tracy and his wrist communicators, and the early Star Trek movies with their tricorder communicators. And now we're holding a version of a tricorder, because with all the apps we have, it's almost like a tricorder. The next evolution, now my son has a watch that connects to his smartphone.
Oh, Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy.
So the next evolution is we're going to have a chip implanted in our head so that we can connect to our smartphones, and through our smartphones, the web.
I don't think I'm going to opt out of that. If somebody tries to put a chip in my head, I'm going to pull out I'm going to use my Second Amendment right on them. That's not going to happen to me. I'm happy the way I am. Thank you. If somebody wants to communicate, they can call my phone. I'll have a dial phone in my house and say, when I'm home, you can call me. Otherwise, I'm not wearing a pager. And I'm not implanted with a chip. I'll just go back to, unless they like dart me, and hold me down and stick it in like there was a recent movie like that. Here's another comment. Sherry Iriarty says hi, and she says half a day. And then James Howard, he said blockchain.
Yeah, that was it.
That's blockchain. James just brought that. Brought that back to us. And he says, hey, Daryl, did you ever talk about the Patriot Act I asked about? If so cool, I must have missed that show. Well, I think I was prepping it, and then I had to stop. And so I actually would like to ask, Bob Klitzkie to talk about the Patriot Act, because as I was researching it, it was very important, very interesting about how the Patriot Act appears to be a violation of First Amendment rights. And it's apparently the bridge to now they're using that idea of the Patriot Act and being able to look into. Right now, there's already the power of the government to look into our online communications and banking and all this. Businesses have to turn over information about you upon request under the Patriot Act. And they can hold it, they don't have to get a warrant. And so if they find something, there's there's a proposal that if they find something, they can go in and confiscate your guns. That was the part of the Patriot Act and the Second Amendment, that they would use the information that they gathered in this cyber search to find people who might pose a problem, and then go to a judge and get a warrant to confiscate your weapons because of cause that they find on a warrantless search of information about you on cyber. That was the discussion, James. That was what. And so you didn't miss it. You didn't miss it. But I would like to hear from Bob Klitzkie about that more, because I'm sure he has considered it more. And I am, even at the time when you brought it up, I thought that was it. Let's see. James Howard continues, and I'm not sure why he says this. He says, yoga pants. And Nate Horn says, I wear my underwear on the inside of my pants. Thank you very much. We have fun here on the Facebook Live page. And then James Howard continues, and he says, always take the high ground. Remember your teaming. And I think that was when we were talking about the rising sea levels. Always take the high ground. Isn't that why we wanted to have the spine of the highway from Naval Station to come up by Menangan Heights, up in there, and to link up with let's see, what's Route 10 coming in from Mingilao, from Chalampago, link up with
coming in. Yeah, it comes across the plateau there on the south side of Jonia.
Yeah,
and then come up and come through and hit, where Route 10 and Route 4 intersect.
Yeah, or just come right on across by DOC, across Order, and however they were going to design it. It's like this place is an engineering nightmare. If you want to build something like an H1, a super highway, to go from south to north, because you're crossing fault lines, and the ground is it's full of, there's like 4 fault lines that have underground rivers. The rivers are there. They're not on the surface. And the ground is unstable as all get out. And so sure, they could build one. And they may have to build one if Petey is impassable. But I guess
look at it now. When we have heavy rains at high tide that stretch between Polaris Point, that whole area around Polaris Point up to the river there, Sassa River, is underwater. Then you go on the opposite side of the island at Pago Bay. We have the same problems there.
Well, you know what, Ken? I could go out there with a level and a balsa wood boat, and I could solve that problems in both areas. I can, and I don't work for Public Works, but I could figure out how to make that thing drain. There not enough kids go out and play in the the water when it's raining hard, because if they had. When they become director of Public Works, they'd know what to do.
True. I mean,
gosh,
you have 2 rivers, one at each end of that floodplain, and you would think they would just simply, channel the water into those 2 rivers, but they don't. They don't accumulate.
I could probably go out there and drain that thing with a mattock, on a good rainy day. And just stand there and let the water drain, and stand there smiling and let the traffic, people wave at me on the way by. I'm even at 65, I could probably get it to drain. I don't know. And the place over there, Pago Bay, That is listed on the old maps as a lake at the bottom of the road as the road comes down and approaches Inolado Road and the river. Just where it levels out, on the old maps, that is a lake. That is a freshwater lake. They put the road right down the middle of the lake, and they didn't put in any culverts. And then they let, Joanne Brown's parents' house and some other houses along the road there build without putting a drainage route for the lake, the former lake. And it's like the Johnston Theater down here in Tamuning. It's just, there's water's going to come this way from the Harmon Sink, and it's going to come out there. And for some reason, after drinking a cup of coffee on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday morning over at DPW, they don't remember, oh yeah, it's time to concentrate on some things before it starts raining again. I don't know.
Maybe in this administration, switching to the politics, we've already now seen a change in leadership at the prison. We have challenges with the leadership over at Gura and Visitors Bureau now. Hopefully, maybe DPW might be up for a change soon.
Oh, let's hope it's Monday. I would like to open the paper. Actually, it could happen tomorrow, and it would be the headline on Monday's paper, right? Headlines we'd like to see, like the old Mad Magazine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, just fill in the blank here. Let me continue with what James Howard's doing, because actually, James got a lot of comments on today, and I think you'd be tickled. Okay. James Howard says, watch Cosmic Disaster by Ben Davidson. Do you know that? Have you seen it?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, here it is. It's a recommendation from James Howard.
Okay.
Watch the movie, I assume, Cosmic Disaster. I would imagine either it's written by or produced by Ben Davidson. And so take note of that. And then James Howard says, nice tag team. I think this is when I got up and ran down the hall. He continues, Daryl is the man, smooth operator. KLG should get some days on the point.
Just waiting to send me in, Coach. I keep waiting for the call, but it hasn't come yet.
Well, we'll see what we can do. James shared the stream. Thank you very much, James. And then he says, like the commercial, laughing out loud. And Pierre sends his condolences. Thank you. And Richard says, Guam needs to be the Disneyland in other ways. Yeah, we should be.
I agree with that.
Yes, we should be offering what it is we're advertising. We got GVB out there, beating the bushes for people to come to Guam, spend their money, right? Well, we should have a product that matches the billing.
Well, Hawaii doesn't have any jungle.
What's that?
So you see, Hawaii doesn't have jungle. They have concrete jungle, but they don't have jungle. So I don't know if you remember back in the 70s when one of the most popular tourist rides was Jeff's Jungle Tours.
Yeah.
Where they would take tourists in, four-wheeled, six-wheeled vehicles on trips through the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a very accessible and very authentic jungle. Why can't we do something to capitalize on that?
And we don't have poisonous snakes, and we don't have badass spiders, and we don't have, killer, wild pigs
tigers and leopards.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Elephants or any of that. But we do have prime jungle. And people go to Costa Rica to ride a zip line over the jungle. They pay a premium for that. That goes back to what we heard in this economic forum this morning. A lot of tourists feel like our product is dated and stale. Just imagine if we had a zip line that ran from Nimitz Hill down over the Petey Guns, down to that beach park there in Petey. Just imagine what an experience that would be.
I would like to see
over a jungle battlefield.
I would like to see a different kind of zip, not out with the zip lines, but there's Richard Leon says like a gondola ride across Tumon Bay. But you know where I'd like to see the gondola ride? I'd like to see the gondola ride off around Hospital Point, but on the ocean side.
Ah, there you go.
Or even from Seti Bay Overlook down to Seti Bay.
Yeah, that would see things like that would capitalize on the jungle and the tropics.
Yeah.
Unique experience.
Can you imagine a gondola ride from Seti Bay Overlook? You go down to the ocean, or you could go across to Inarajan?
Or go across the valley there to the mountains on the mountain.
Well, that's what I meant. From Seti Bay Overlook to over the mountain line and down to Inarajan Village. Oh man, there's so many things we can do. Anyway, it's 5:52, Ken. I gotta take another break here, and we'll be right back with the end of today's show here on Tall Tales.
Hey, what's that?
A Subway Big Hot Pastrami?
My Big Hot Pastrami?
No, my Subway Big Hot Pastrami. Get your own.
Get your own Subway Big Hot Pastrami. Tender, juicy beef on freshly baked sunflower crunch bread, topped with pickles and mustard. Finish off your meal with all new seasoned potato wedges, baked to perfection right in the restaurant. Both available for limited time only. Subway, make it what you want.
Life happens. You need to go to work. The kids need to go to school. There are family events, friend events, any event. And everyone needs to communicate. When you need mobile services that you know you can rely on, choose GTA. As the winner of Ookla's 2019 award for Best Mobile Coverage on Guam, you can rely on us to offer you better plans to modernize your life, fit your needs, and keep you connected. So visit us today and let us help you connect. GTA, we start with you.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific, banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
Okay, we're back, and we only have about 5 minutes to go here, but Ken, stay... Oh, are you there? No, you dropped off. Okay, so I have a call on line 1, and this is...
Joe.
Joe, hey, Joe.
It's been a while. So did I hear you say there was a conference earlier today?
Yes, there was a conference today. It was called, it was an Economic Outlook Forum sponsored by the Bank of Guam down at the Dusatani, started at 7:30 with breakfast. And the theme was Purpose Beyond Profit. And it included Selena Lem from the Marshalls on climate change, Joaquin Cook, the Chief Executive Officer of the Bank of Guam, talking about the theme of Purpose Beyond Profit. Melanie Mendiola, from the Administrator of GITA, the Director of the Department of Labor, David Della Sola, talking about labor. Nico Fujikawa of GVB, he's the Chief Researcher, and he made a presentation that was excellent. Sixta Hutapea about the real estate market on Guam, and that's a factor of production, right? And Tom Atta talking about how all of this is effort to maintain our tourism industry is impacting on the main agency that deals with tourists, and that's Guam Airport Authority.
It's primarily Bank of Guam?
No, they were the sponsor. They organized it.
So I like to say thanks to Bank of Guam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They should have more of those. I suggested more of these roundtables, economic town halls, where people can share what they feel, and maybe carry on from this the one they had earlier today. But it's very interesting. All this information you guys are bringing up, the old maps of Guam, because these are issues that not just here in Guam but stateside. Wetland areas, you have to pay attention to them. That was the whole issue with Hurricane Katrina, with New Orleans.
Yes.
And the East Coast with the Hurricane Sandy, I think it might have been a little bit of an issue there. And right now, California, people forget that California, along the coast areas, if they don't pump water out, and if there's seawater introduced, it could ruin a lot of our farmland, and it could affect our food. for our country. So very important to pay attention to these coastal areas and make sure that they're maintained.
Well, you know, one of the things that we have to remember is that engineering and the cost of investment is going to drive the quality of any kind of construction or whether it's construction of a road, or a big road or a small road, they were just following the old road. And, maybe that road over there as you're approaching Pago Bay was not the original road, but after the war they had to put in a good hard road to be able to get from Camp Weetek up to Chalampago, up the hill in Chalampago. And so they just built it, and it didn't have a problem until houses were built and Inalado Road was built as a hard road, and they didn't put culverts in. So it was
like you said,
expense.
Planning is very important. Not have overdevelopment. Thanks so much for sharing that information.
Yeah.
And we'll revisit it in the future. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Joe, for the call this afternoon. And I'll just get to a couple more comments here. I have 1 minute. Pierre Turine says, Okinawa has similar to worse engineering issues, but they have A-grade freeway. And that is right. It is possible to do, and we almost could have had that as part of the military buildup, but they didn't negotiate that. They didn't negotiate an alternate highway from alternate to Marine Drive, to go from the port to the airport and the marine staging areas. So, but maybe in the future they will. Richard Leon says, be adventurous. And James Howard says, let's send out more FOIAs. Well, we get more information with FOIAs if they're not going to offer it. And James Howard says, Bank of Guam, they lost the chamber vote, unfortunately. Don't know the backstory on that, but that's okay. It's just about 6 o'clock. This has been my pleasure. I'm Darrell Taggarty. Happy to be with you this afternoon. Looking forward to the return of Bob Klitzkie on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you had a good time. And be sure to tune in again on Monday morning for Ray Gibson, and on Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock for the return of Bob Klitzkie here on Tall Tales. Have yourself a very good weekend, everyone, and a very thankful Thanksgiving. Count your blessings, because certainly when you do start counting, they are there, and you'll be amazed how many you have. I know. So enjoy, and I hope to be back with you someday soon.